Look at Thursday morning South Central. We certainly have been dealing with abnormal warmth for the past several days. I mean, we've been talking about temperatures sitting in the upper 30s and the lower 40s. Now, as we close out this month and welcome in December, we're actually going to see some colder conditions, more seasonal weather make a return to South Central. As far as what we're dealing with this morning, you can see some breaks in that cloud coverage that we do have. Now, clouds will build right back in through the day as we are expecting to see some areas of some light snowfall as we head throughout your mid-morning and early afternoon. Now, as far as what we've seen for the month of November, really don't have to explain much just how warm it has been. You have to go back to really the past 2 weeks. It's been a tale of two different seasons. You go back to the 17th, temperatures were sitting well below average, or actually began that trend of well below average, where we saw days anywhere from about 5 to 20 degrees below where we should be. And then as we transitioned into last week, the start of last week, that's where temperatures began to warm. And that is bringing our average monthly temperature to 27.9 degrees. If you had taken out those that cold snap, that brief cold snap that we did see, we'd currently be sitting just outside of the top 5 warmest Novembers, but right now we're sitting right at 13th warmest. So still one of the warmest Novembers we've seen since 2019, and temperatures this morning sitting below freezing in Anchorage. Yesterday was the first day in 6 days when temperatures dropped below freezing in Anchorage. So this freeze-thaw pattern is finally coming to an end, although today we'll still see some additional melting as those temperatures warm into the low to mid 30s, but shouldn't see any significant issues like we've been dealing with for the past week or so. Now, with the weather beginning to quiet down somewhat across the state and cooler weather making a return, you notice the 24-hour temperature change across the state, anywhere from about 5 to 10 degrees cooler than what we saw yesterday. Now, there are some exceptions out towards southeast where we continue to see rain and snow along the slope with that cloud coverage and some flurry potential, but the overall trend for Alaska as a whole is trending colder as we close out November and welcome in December. So we're watching an area of low pressure that's in the western Gulf of Alaska that's going to make an approach towards Seward. That will bring some snowfall potential for some areas of South Central. Who's going to see it is greatly depending on how much moisture is available as it pushes in over the mountains. Most of that snow that we'll see today will be across the eastern Kenai and through Prince William Sound. If you live across the western Kenai through the Anchorage Bowl and into the valley, trending on the drier side as the mountains will take most of that snow, but there is still the potential we could see some light accumulation. When you're looking at the flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere, notice that jet stream is well to our south, so the storm motion or storm movements really beginning to shift away from Alaska, and you can see somewhat of a ridge out west across Canada. That's actually going to break down, and it's going to allow for some more cooler conditions to return to southeast as well. So today we are going to see those highs near freezing. The only exception will be coastal regions, which will warm into the mid to upper 30s. That's where there's a chance for some rain and snow in the forecast. And of course, through the valley, we could see some mid 30s as well. But overall, today will be significantly cooler than what we've been seeing the past several days. In fact, we did wake up this morning with those temperatures in some locations sitting in the upper 20s. So there's that area of low pressure pushing inland. You can see mid-morning, early afternoon, some light snow beginning to fall for Anchorage and surrounding areas. I think a best bet is a trace to about an inch of accumulation. Really, we just take a dusting will help us when it comes to better traction control on some of those icy roads. So we'll take what snow we can get as it will prove better than those icy conditions we have been seeing. So that snow does taper off as we head into the evening hours. Notice that area of low pressure to our south is a bit further to the south as it makes an approach towards the panhandle. That means we're going to see those clouds beginning to break up overnight into Friday. That's going to allow those temperatures to dip into the mid-20s, and that's where we're really going to tap into some of those cooler conditions. And with clouds breaking through the night, still thinking about a 40 to 60% cloud coverage as we head through the overnight hours, but we should see a stunning display of the aurora should it really begin to pop into the night, as the KP is expected to be a 5 to a 7 overnight into Friday. Of course, we'll get to that here in the next minute or so, but that snow total forecast, again, you can see eastern Kenai down through the Seward Highway and through Prince William Sound. This is where we're going to see a couple of inches of snowfall from the Copper River Basin into the valley, as well as western parts of the Kenai. Again, trending on the drier side, but I wouldn't be surprised if we managed to squeeze out a trace to about an inch of a snowfall accumulation, because again, we'll take what we can get, as it will certainly help with that traction control on those roadways. So nothing significant with that snow that we'll see today, but looking ahead as we close out this month and welcome in the first week of December, you can see that the active weather, it begins to calm down. That widespread activity we've been dealing with becomes more isolated and scattered in nature. Of course, we'll still see some of that widespread activity near the Gulf Coast region, but it's inland locations that are really going to trend on the drier side compared to what we have been seeing for the past week or so. Now, looking into December 5th through the 9th, we are seeing a slight tilt towards wetter weather across the interior through southeast as well as along the slope, while drier conditions will likely take hold from Bristol Bay out towards Lake and Peninsula. Certainly something to watch. That doesn't mean that we're going to see abnormally dry conditions. It's just during this time of year when we typically see more of those snow chances, it's likely going to dwindle as we continue to see that shift in that jet stream to our south. So for today, we're going to see those highs topping out 34 in Anchorage, 39 degrees in Juneau. Into the interior, we're talking about 20 degrees. So still warm across the state, but we are going to be tapping into those colder conditions in the days ahead. And we're finally going to be heading back into a deep freeze. Now, that 7-day forecast showing that those light snow showers, again, staying with us for your Thursday and then into Friday. We are expected to see some sunshine making a return, a high of 29 degrees, but notice we dip into the lower 20s as we head through next week with overnight lows in the teens. Seasonal weather, that is what we're talking about, finally making a return to South Central. November will close out as one of the 3 months we've seen this year with above average temperatures. Those were January, August, as well as November. But you can see again those temperatures cooling down into the 20s. Again, the aurora expected to peak tonight, a KP of 5 to 7. Best viewing potential likely will be after about 10 to 11 p.m. due to the high nature of this auroral activity. If you have any photos, you can always send them in to us at the station. We'll display them on the news. It should be stunning shots of that. Best viewing potential will be through the interior, eastern interior, Copper River Basin, as well as parts of South Central, where we are going to see that clearing. There is that shot. If we don't see it tonight into tomorrow, there's another decent opportunity Friday night into Saturday. But unfortunately, here in South Central, we're going to see those clouds make a return. We'll have more on that coming up in the noon show as well as in the evening newscast. For now, have a great Thursday and be safe on those roads.